Hello and welcome back to CEO.CA's Inside the Boardroom. Today I am excited to be joined by members of the Electrum Discovery team, starting with Dr. Elena Clarici, co-founder, CEO and executive chair. Elena, thanks so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you for inviting me. Nice to be here.
So I'd like to kick things off with a bit of a backstory. As a co-founder of the company, tell us maybe the opportunity you saw with Electrum and the journey from the inception to today.
Well, so first of all, we are an exploration company. We are focused on copper and gold, and we explore in Europe. And we explore in a particular region, which is West Tethyan Belt, and again, particular part of it that crosses a country called Serbia. So there is a very interesting part to it. I'm originally from Serbia. And when we found the company, there was a group of us who knew that there is still huge potential in the country and in the Tethyan Belt that hasn't been discovered and hasn't been even touched.
Yeah.
And that was the initial drive and initial kind of motivation to form the company. We started our journey in May 21, so we're 3 years old. For 2 years, we've been a private company, and then, since January this year, we started to trade on Toronto on TSXV. So, what do I say? Where do I start? So, Europe in general is very overlooked for our mining, and I think over the last few years, we are starting to see the renaissance and the interest growing in European mining. But until recently, really, there was very little done. Serbia in particular, as a sort of being on the edge of Europe, Eastern Europe, Southern Europe. Also, it was a socialist country that was behind the walls, so there was no modern exploration, there was no commercial exploration that you see today. So that's why we knew, and we are now, really showing the evidence of it, of this huge potential that hasn't been uncovered.
When investors are looking at some of the more famous mining jurisdictions around the world, Serbia not often associated with copper mining. You touched on maybe the impact of communism and the lack of advanced exploration work during that period. But I guess is there still we're still playing catch up there, or is the kind of mining infrastructure on par with some of the more well-known jurisdictions?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think we never lacked the mining infrastructure, because I think it's more of the country being not part of the sort of market economy, so people didn't know, but the country was traditionally mining country. Hence, there is still a very good mining infrastructure, and especially with the recent investment from likes of Zijin Mining, Dundee, you could be anywhere in the world when it comes to the mining infrastructure. Serbia has history of about 100 years of a modern mining. But we do go, in fact, the first origin of copper mining, copper smelting, dates about 5000 BC in the region where we operate. So it's a long history.
So for Electrum, what does the kind of permitting and infrastructure look like at the projects?
So maybe we can sort of reverse a little bit or touch on a mining law and the how you actually get into permits and what do you need to be exploring. So Serbia has updated its mining law a few years ago in 2021, which has been modeled on any international, very well sort of transparent mining law. So it's pretty simple to get a exploration license. It's first come, first served. You get your permits for 3+3+2 cycles. You present to the government or to the ministry the plan, what you want to do for the first 3 years. And if you put in that particular cycle, if you include drilling or geophysics, everything you include, you're already permitted. So for instance, for us, all of the licenses that we operate at the moment, we have all the permits. People ask me, like, do you have how long will it take you to get a drilling permit? We already have it. So,
no, I guess it's a common source of delays in other jurisdictions. But you said 3+3+2. So it'll be there's a renewal period at the end of the 3 years.
So yes. So obviously, after 3 years, you need to demonstrate what you have done.
Yeah.
And of course, if you want to continue, it's almost automatic. I mean, of course,
Okay.
after the submission of the report, the progress report.
Yeah.
And then you do again after the second cycle of 3 years, and then you get a final 2 years. Which even after 8 years, legally you could ask for more.
Yeah.
But we like to believe that after 8 years we would have
we'll be past exploration
exactly.
At that point.
Yeah, we will find and define, and it will be a different company.
Yeah, and in terms of the team that you have on board, you said your background Serbian originally. Do you have much of a local presence there, or is your team kind of spread out globally?
So our chief geologist and myself, we live in the UK. But really the emphasis going forward is on the local talent. So we just expanded our geological team, and we employed 3 very able youngish geologists keen to learn and to build on their knowledge. So
yeah.
I think it's paramount in the modern world that we have to engage in that knowledge transition and really engage in the community and the local teams.
Yeah, I was going to ask in terms of kind of social license and relations with local groups. Does having that a Serbian kind of team of geologists help that process? Are there any kind of issues there in terms of maybe local resistance to mining, or is it generally kind of smooth sailing?
Well, we are privileged to be in a part which is mining. I mean, we're really in a part of the country that lives only on mining. It's a traditional mining part of the country. So we haven't, and we are really building the community relations from
a good starting point.
A very good starting point. So we engage them in every, not decision making, but certainly in every aspect of our exploration as we are progressing from soils to geochem to trenching. They're fully aware of what we are doing, and they follow us. So far it's been a very good relation. We don't expect any changes there, and now that we have more of a local team and people who actually live locally, I think that will continue to be very good.
Great, and I guess I don't want to give away too many spoilers because I'll be chatting with Jake, your chief geologist, in just a few minutes. But maybe in terms of the exploration life cycle, can you give us a sense of how far along the exploration kind of stages your projects are right now?
So maybe I should just give you a little. So we have 2 projects. So as a company, we are across few of those exploration cycles, as you mentioned. What is our flagship, or really the currently key focus, is our Timok East, which is kind of becoming advanced exploration. It was early exploration, but we were very lucky to advance very quickly and to define the anomaly, and we're progressing towards drilling, which should happen before the end of the year. But nevertheless, this is still like advanced exploration. Our second project, which is in a different part of the country, it's in the southern part of the country, called Novo Tlamina. That is advanced exploration stroke development, although we don't really intend to develop anything. We are an exploration company, but through acquisition of another company in Canada, we acquired the inferred resources. So we have 670,000 gold equivalent ounces and a PEA on it. So that gives us a little kind of further down the chain. But it is all about exploration and this future discovery that we are working hard towards.
Great. I guess in terms of what the next let's say 6 months is going to hold, can you give us a sense of what kind of catalysts are you expecting? What might your news flow look like from now through the year end and then into 2025?
Well, I think the biggest, what everybody's expecting and calling me on a daily basis, is our drilling, when the drilling is going to start. Everything going well, we plan to turn the drill around 15th of December. We're just finishing now the small geophysical program to give us the orientation of the drills. So that is going to be a big news flow between late December and first quarter of the next year.
And what size of drill campaign are you planning?
We're starting relatively modest. I mean, it's really modest, not relatively, 2,000 meter.
Okay.
But that should give us fairly good idea what we have and what we don't. Hopefully, what we have. And following that, we will continue because we do have enough knowledge and evidence that this is going to be deeper opportunities. So we will follow with the deeper methods like geophysics and then continue drilling. So Timor East is really over the next 6 months turning the drills. And in addition to that, we are looking, because we didn't go into details, we have 3 licenses. Our current work was only on 1. So obviously there's still 2 licenses that we still need to do a lot of work.
Right.
And
to maintain those licenses, you need to do a certain amount of work. Is that it?
Yes, but not because of that. I think our main objective is to see if we can potentially prove that there is a parallel trend to the Timor magmatic complex.
Okay.
So that's why we will expand our Bambino and continue to the north. In terms of the other project, which although we are spending less time and money and energy on it, Nova Tlamino, nevertheless, it equally has a lot of potential. We're actually going through the process of updating the PEA. We have identified a number of other exploration targets, which we will follow up in throughout 25. And depends really on the markets and many other things. Maybe we'll continue drilling on Nova Tlamino as well, so that we can increase the current resource.
Great. Well, sounds like it's going to be a busy 6 months. I guess just to wrap up this part of the interview, I guess for a retail investor who might be looking at some ways they can get exposure to the sector and looking at exploration stories, why do you think Electrum stands out? What is it that makes you maybe different from some of your peers?
A couple of things, but I think what I get from the investors, it's really the scale, because the scale that we potentially have in Timor East is a true world-class new deposits. And I think that's why increasingly retail investors are willing to take a bet, to speculate, because it could be something really big. Obviously, do we stand out? I don't know. Everybody else will say our management, our expertise, our history, my background, ability to speak the language and just move very easily in the country. Maybe that is, not maybe, it is important, but many other companies would say the same thing. But I think what we have and many others don't is that scale that, it could potentially be something big.
Okay, fantastic. Well, Elena, thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you for inviting me, and nice to be here.
So we have heard from Dr. Elena Clarici, but now I am joined by Jake Garland, Chief Geologist at Electrum, to talk a little bit more about the projects and the geology that they're seeing on site. Jake, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
So let's kick things off maybe with a bit about you. Can you tell us a bit about your career journey and then why you chose to work at Electrum?
Yeah, so I started off my career working in the greenstone belts in northern Scandinavia, which was some good exposure. And then I moved across to South America, all down the porphyry and epithermal belts, so down through Ecuador, Peru, up in Mexico, and then quite a bit of time in Bolivia. And then I was really just drawn to the project because of its merit, the region. I mean, the Timor magmatic complex is one of the most prolific porphyry belts that I've come across. And in terms of exploration, if you had that kind of belt anywhere else in the world, it would be overstaked and there would be no ground available, let alone the sort of caliber of ground that we've managed to pick up from Electrum. And a good example of that is Clarici, discovered about 8 years ago now. So 1.7 billion ton copper gold porphyry with a high sulfidation on top. Less than 3 kilometers south from a region that's been mined for over 100 years.
Yeah.
So there's for the potential of the area, it's totally underexplored.
And in terms of that exploration work that's been ongoing at Electrum, can you give us an overview of maybe the work that's been done to date?
So the first thing we did was essentially just cover all the ground, map out the good targets and prospect.
Yeah.
We found a couple of interesting looking rocks, so some stockwork material that looked potentially porphyry or high sulfidation epithermal. We followed that at Bambino, which is our main target, with a really tight soil grid, which returned a 1.8 kilometer long copper anomaly, with the highest grade portion also including gold, and then a separate 1 kilometer long gold anomaly, which runs parallel to this gold trend. Following that, we did some rock chip sampling and mapping, which is sort of the standard procedure as you run through, which came back confirmed copper, gold, and silver in the outcrop. We then did a 300-meter trench program, essentially to just get a small window into this 1.8 long anomaly in soils to see what the rocks look like, what the bedrock looked like, what style of mineralization we're looking for, what grade of mineralization we're looking for. And then that's where we're up to today. So that came back with some nice results. So the longest trench was 153 meters. And the highlight intercept from that was 133.5 meters at 0.4% copper, which is in line with these other big porphyry and epithermal targets all along the belt. So previous to us taking the property on, there's no signs of any modern exploration, despite us being only 4 kilometers east from this prolific porphyry mining belt.
Jake, thanks a lot for the overview of the work that's been done to date. I guess Elena mentioned that there's this upcoming drill program as well. Could you give us a sense? Is there still work ongoing at the project right now?
Yep. So this week we're shipping the IP equipment from Germany, and we're essentially doing a tight IP survey with 3 lines across the main Bambino Central Zone, which is where the majority of drilling is going to focus. So this is aiming to give us the orientation of the body, because at the minute we just have the surface expression. So that will give us the angle, so that'll give us the orientation of the drill targets essentially, and the hypogene depth, so where the surface leached lower grade ore turns into the sulfide target area. And then that will be shortly followed by a 2,000 meter drill program, which will target the higher grade sulfide zone efficiently.
And the drill campaign that's upcoming, so that's going to be the first drilling done at the property?
Yeah, as far as we know. So we've been to the Bohr Institute and the Serbian Geological Institute to try and find any historic information.
Interesting.
Basically, they stopped. So one of the institutes stopped their exploration just north of our concession, and then the other institute stopped their exploration just south. So where we are is a total blank zone historically.
So Jake, thanks a lot for that overview, and I guess exciting to have that maiden drill campaign starting soon. I guess, can you give us a sense of the geological system here? Sounds like there's the potential for really massive scale, and you're in a kind of underexplored kind of claim, but it sounds like there's a lot of activity in the region. I guess, paint a picture for us in terms of the geology there.
Yep. So like I mentioned, we're on the Timok magmatic belt. In the center of the belt, there's 5 copper gold porphyries and epithermals that are in commercial production. So around 1 billion tons each, so really big targets. On the western margin of the belt, there's Dundee Precious Metals, who are having really good success with their Chocorakita project. We're located on the eastern boundary of the same, of the TMC. So everyone who's exploring essentially in our area is either mining or having great success. So it's a good place to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Jake, thank you so much for joining us today. Really interesting to hear a bit more about the geology on site, and best of luck with this upcoming program.
Yeah, thank you.